Hello everyone, and welcome to Dallas, Texas. My name is Keith Winch, and I am standing here on the banks of the beautiful, lovely Trinity River. I'm here this evening to announce that I will canoe from southwest Montana, Twin Bridges, to right here in Dallas, Texas, some 2 miles upriver from where I stand now, underneath the soon-to-be completed Sylvan Avenue Bridge, which is Trammell Crow Park. So what I'd like to do now is take some time and analyze the route in greater detail. So, for you geography savants out there, as you can see, we're here in Dallas, Texas, and this is Twin Bridges, the starting point. So as the crow flies, the distance between Dallas and Twin Bridges is about 1,200 miles. As the car is driven, the distance is about 1,500 miles. But as the canoe is paddled, the distance is approximately 4,000 miles. I'll go ahead and call it 4,000 miles. And really, I look at this in three separate and distinct sections. You have the beginning section from Twin Bridges on the Jefferson River and the Upper Missouri River. It's about the South Dakota-Nebraska state line. And this section is the most remote section. It's what we would call the dammed Upper Missouri, so there'll be 15 portages that will be required. And then there's three very large reservoirs in the Great Plains: Fort Peck, Lake Sacagawea in North Dakota, and Lake Oahe in South Dakota. The second section, which goes from Nebraska on the lower Missouri River, the Mississippi River, and part of the Red River, is a more commercial river. I'll be going through larger towns such as Omaha, Nebraska, Kansas City, Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri, Memphis, Tennessee, and Shreveport, Louisiana. And this is where I'll be introduced to barge traffic. And then the last section, it will also be more remote and will require three portages, which is north of Shreveport through Arkansas, and then eventually the Red River forms the border of Texas and Oklahoma. I'll have a short portage to the Red River, from the Red River to the Trinity River, down to here in beautiful, lovely Dallas. So my two primary concerns about the canoe trip really are the large reservoirs in the Great Plains and then canoeing upstream. So these large reservoirs, Fort Peck, Sacagawea, and Oahe, are, as I said, three of the largest reservoirs in America. And so this area is also notorious for being very windy. So you add a large body of water with a lot of wind and an open canoe, and that can be a recipe for disaster. So I'll need to be very prudent about the decisions that I make. And in fact, I would anticipate there'll be many days that I will not simply be able to paddle because the conditions won't allow for it. And then finally, canoeing upstream. By the time I reach the Red River here northwest of Baton Rouge, I'm not sure what sort of shape I'll be in. So the prospect of canoeing upstream at that juncture is a little bit disconcerting. So those are my two primary on-river concerns, the large reservoirs in the Great Plains and then canoeing upstream. So let's take some time and look at what some of my other off-river concerns are. So first of all, a big thank you to Ethan Hine for taking the time to draw the following sketches. So Ethan, thanks a lot. And really my primary concern with the entire journey is how am I going to hold up physically to the rigors of paddling from Montana to Dallas. And for the past 20 years, I've been very fortunate to work at a terrific company. And this is my office space here. So I've worked in a cube, or what I would call a success station, for the past 20 years. And certainly, while this has been terrific, it's not necessarily the training that would be consistent with preparing for a canoe voyage as to the one I'm about to embark on. So this is ultimately my main concern, is how am I going to handle the journey physically. The second concern that I have are brown bears, the North American brown bear. And while this is a remote possibility that I'll run into one of these, and certainly the bear territory is only for the first 200 or 300 miles, but this is something I prefer not to encounter. My next major concern is being able to be disciplined about staying away from the casinos. So I'm going to be transformed from a figurative riverboat gambler to a literal riverboat gambler. So if I do frequent the casinos along the way, I must be disciplined about my money management and my alcohol consumption. My next major concern are rattlesnakes, and snakes in general, really, not just rattlesnakes, but snakes. From the intelligence that I've gathered, there are a ton of rattlesnakes in South Dakota and North Dakota, so I need to be really careful when I camp out or if I take journeys in the Badlands. I need to be really careful about where I step and making sure I avoid these at all costs. And then finally, we have the alligator. And I really need to make sure that I avoid the alligator because after paddling 3,500 miles or 3,000 miles, by the time I get to Louisiana, I certainly do not want to have to encounter these. And then lastly, you have...
excuse me, if you're going to be gone 6 months, do you mind if I live in your house while you're gone?
No, Pat. There's no way you're staying in my house.
Because I can cut the grass and everything.
You may be able to cut the grass, but you're not staying in my house.
Okay, just asking.
All right. Thanks, though, Pat. And then finally, we have the mosquito. And when Lewis and Clark took their journey from 1804 to 1806, they talked extensively about mosquitoes. Essentially, they exhausted the ways to describe how much of a pest they were. So I'm not a big fan of bugs in general, and so I'm a little bit nervous about the mosquito and of course, the West Nile virus and all of that. So again, to recap, I will be canoeing from Montana to Dallas. I'm probably not in the best of shape. I don't like bugs. I'm afraid of bears and alligators. So hopefully this ends up working out. What could possibly go wrong?